Hello, believers, non believers, and everyone in between. You're listening to Stories with Sapphire. I am Sapphire Sandalo. Now get cozy and open your mind because it's story time.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Stories with Sapphire Live. I am Sapphire Sandalo. You're at this Sapphire. Sorry, I didn't, my thing is not. Ugh, my hair is super weird. Welcome, everyone. This is the live stream that I do every Wednesday at 5:30 Pacific here on YouTube. I received so many emails and messages that, you know what, they can't all make it to the podcast or the channel. So this is my opportunity to share all those little stragglers and also the ones that are fictional. I usually reserve the nonfiction stories for the podcast. So, oh, there's a lot of stuff happening in the chat right now. Like I can't, I can't handle it right now. But thank you to the people in the chat who are answering questions that are being asked. So, if this is your first time here, welcome. If you want to submit a story or send me an email and ask a question, it's right here. The email address is storieswithsapphire@gmail.com. And what is the other? Hi, Adam. Adam's awesome. Adam's one of my Patreon members, and he's sending me something really cool that's supposed to arrive Friday, and I'm so excited for it. Eee! So I will read a couple emails, and then at the very end, I'm gonna pull a card for a collective reading from here. It's a great deck. What else? I feel like I'm forgetting something. No? All right, cool. Let's get into it. Ooh. Of course, I burp. All right, here we go. This one's called... Let's move this over here. All right. This one's called The Room on the Roof, and this is sent from Adiva. Adiva has sent a couple of stories already, and they're all hits. They're all hits. And also just a disclaimer, I do not read these fully ahead of time. So I might stumble. I might fall. I might get some grammar wrong. And you know what? It's live, baby. All right, here we go. As I had mentioned to you before, there are other stories surrounding my grandmother's house. Prepare yourself for this one. Ooh, okay. The house had a room built on the rooftop, which my grandmother had rented out to multiple people throughout the years. The area was quite expensive, and the room in question was very cheap compared to the rest of the rooms and apartments there. I have seen many people staying there for a short period of time and then leaving a couple weeks or months later. Now, I have never thought to even question that until recently when I started putting all the stories of this house together. There had to be a connection. During one of our visits, there was no one living in that room, so my grandmother would let me and my cousin Alex hang out there. I was 12 or 13 around the time, and Alex had gotten his first girlfriend, so he snuck her into that room so they could spend quality time together. The lock on the door wasn't working from the inside, so Alex asked me to lock it from the outside and open it whenever he called for me. After I locked the door for him, I went on the other side of the rooftop, put my headphones in, and listened to some music so I could pass the time. An hour or so later, I heard a faint banging, and as I took my headphones out, I heard the banging get even louder. Realizing it was the room Alex and his girlfriend were in, I ran to go open the door. His girlfriend came running out, and she went straight home. Alex, on the other hand, looked horrified. I sat him down to ask what happened, and he explained it to me. He said, "We were just sitting, and we saw something circling the bed super fast. We tried getting up, but it felt like someone was holding us down. and then it disappeared. Just like that. Until it reappeared in the corner of the wall. So she sent me this screenshot of a text conversation. LMFAOOA. Nah, but can you tell me exactly what you saw in there? And then this is Alex. Yeah, I can try. Me and my girlfriend were just sitting and we saw something circling the bed super fast. We tried to get up, but it felt mad heavy, bro. Like someone was just holding us down, and then that shit just disappeared. But I swear to you, it reappeared on the corner of the wall. You remember where the crack was? Like the effing right corner? Yes, I do remember that. WTF. It may not seem too crazy of a story, but it definitely scared my cousin and his girlfriend at the time. Also, FYI, I always had one question about this story. The house was blessed, and so I thought that room might also have no issues, but it did for some reason. And to this day, it has a weird feeling to it. Anywho, let me know what you think of this story, Sapphire. I'm sorry it wasn't too crazy like the rest. The next one will be better, I promise. A diva. And never apologize. Never apologize. I appreciate every single email that comes in here because it means you took the time to write something out for me. And that's half my job. You guys are doing my job for me. All right. So that's pretty wild. So it's this room and then something came out of the crack or something emerged and then went through the crack. I just think it's funny that you hear banging and you didn't initially think something else, but you thought, oh, something might be wrong. That is crazy. The second you described the room as only being able to lock from the outside, immediately no. That's too much. No, I don't want to rely on someone on the outside to let me out in case something happens. Ay. Kashiv, OMG, finally made it to your live, Ate Sapphire. Hello from Manila. Hello. Oh, roll call. Who's here from the Philippines? Kumusta ka? Maayong gabi. Well, no, it would be maayong buntag, I believe, if you're in the Philippines. I'm still very, very rusty. Not rusty because I never had it. I'm very rough. Let me see if I can say it. Nagapractice ko sa Cebuano, pero I don't know. Not very good. Not di kayo. Bad. Yikes. Okay, let's do our next story before I embarrass myself more. This one's called... This has no name. All right. This is from Margaret from the Philippines. Shout out to the Philippines. Hi, Sapphire. I'm Margaret from the Philippines. Here's a true experience that my mother shared with me back when I was a child. When my mother was younger, she, along with her 4 sisters and my grandmother, lived in a compound in the most populated area of our city. They weren't well off like most, and my grandmother did everything she could to earn some money to feed her daughters. One of the things she did was open up one of the houses in the compound for rent. It wasn't a grand or anything. It was a house that stood behind the family home. It never got a decent paint job or flooring, but it had enough room to house 3 to 5 people. Unfortunately for the family, it didn't solve their financial problems. No matter how much my grandmother persuaded or convinced them, the renters would always leave the house in a hurry. Their complaints were heard and the house was checked from time to time. My mother and her sisters were expecting to hear something ordinary like the pipes not working or the electricity shutting off from time to time. Yet nothing prepared them for what the renters actually had to say. "There's a woman," they said. "She wears an expensive yet torn dark green dress, her hair covering her face and her skin as pale as the moonlight. She roams the house barefoot and would stare at us as we try to sleep." No matter how many times they've heard such things, no matter how creeped out they already felt, my grandmother brushed it off. She had more things to worry about than a make-believe, as she'd call it. But as the last renter ran off, the family finally called for a spiritualist. She came a few days later and inspected the house. She walked around the rooms, chanting and sprinkling whatever it was she needed to scatter. After doing so, she sat my mother and the rest of my family down to talk. She explained that the woman in that house wanted something she couldn't obtain on her own because she was bound to that area. The spiritualist then turned to my mother. She's taken quite the liking to you. You need to be the one that drives her away. The frightened and cowardly child she was, my mother begged and cried not to be sent to that house alone. In the end, she was made to walk in all the rooms in the house with a candle in hand. To this day, my mother questions how and why that spirit has grown such an attraction to her. She couldn't sleep that night. While the rest of her siblings snoozed quietly, she could hear noises around the house. The sounds of the stairs thumping as if someone was walking up, doors slamming loudly, and soft taps on the windows, yet no one heard except for her. It was only overnight, though. Ever since then, the house finally earned some long-term renters. No ghosts or spirits were reported, and it was finally at peace. Or so they thought. It's been decades since then. One of my mother's sisters lives in that place now, and she'd always tell me how they have a long-term visitor. A woman with a dark green dress. Whoa. So I guess our theme for today is extra rooms in Filipino houses that are occupied by something that's not living. That's cool. I like that. I also like that the woman isn't in white or gray or black. She's in green. Chat, have you heard of stories like this? Right? Usually the lady is in white or gray or black in some sort of neutral. Actually, those are not colors. White, gray, and black are technically not colors. So that's kind of cool and interesting and weird. Boo. Thank you. Margaret, thank you so much for that. That was a cool one. Man, Filipinos, we got the best. We have the best ghost stories. You heard it here first. Filipinos are the best. All right. Adam, you never hear about ghosts in plaid, right? You know what? That is something interesting, though. I feel like people ask me all the time, like, how come when we hear ghost stories, it's always someone from a very long time ago, like 1800s, or just someone who's not of this time? And my response to that question is, well, if a ghost was in contemporary attire, they wouldn't really stand out that much, would they? So maybe you are surrounded by ghosts in fashionable attire, but they blend in so they don't stand out. But also that's not true. There are ghosts that are seen wearing normal clothes. I mean, those are the people who see their loved ones, or they see, I don't know, it happens. Sorry, I needed a little sip. Nino, how long did you decorate your setup? 2 seconds. I bought this LED strip. Got some, I already had these audio foam. And then I had all the items already, and then I just bloop, popped it in here. Potato, Japanese ghost stories are good too. Yes, I agree. I also agree. Asia. You know why Asian ghost stories are the best? Because Asians are very tapped in to the other world, y'all. Because this shit's real. Okay. This one is called... Ooh, it's already 5:49. What? Oh, I think I might start it a little late. Oh, this one seems interesting. This one's called The Counting Servant. Let's see. Hey, been a fan of your show since Snarl days, but I noticed you've never told this classic Asian Japanese urban legend. The original name is Okiku, but because you already have a video named such, I thought about giving the alternate name. Hence, the counting servant. This is a variation I find to be the best one. Many centuries ago, there was a beautiful servant who was very motivated and very humble in her work. She was a young, beautiful woman who liked to do her work alone. However, she worked for a samurai who was madly in love with her. There hardly was a day when the samurai didn't try to advance her, but she always refused, carrying on with her work as if nothing happened. The samurai had a collection of 10 precious porcelain plates, and one night when the servant was away, he broke one of them and hid the pieces in various parts of the mansion, which he knew the servant girl would not even think about looking looking for. The next day, the servant was cleaning when she noticed, to her horror, that only 9 of the 10 plates were to be found. She looked all over, but she never found the missing plate. In fear of her life, she tried to find it, but eventually she gave up and told the samurai about the incident. The samurai acted furious, but said that he will forgive her if she becomes his mistress. The woman refused, which caused the samurai to go berserk. He beat her to a pulp, dragged her outside, and threw her inside a well, where she eventually drowned. The samurai eventually calmed down and regretted what he had done. But he couldn't find his servant's body anymore because it sunk to the bottom of the well. Eventually, he was able to convince the village that the servant girl had run off and no one came to search for her. A few nights later, the samurai was sleeping when he heard a woman's voice in the darkness, counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. What followed the counting was a blood-curdling scream that caused the samurai to jump up from his bed. However, there was no one around. Still, the same thing happened night after night, over and over again. It went so bad that eventually the samurai started getting paranoid, and he decided to contact a local priest. The priest arrived late in the afternoon to find the samurai on the brink of exhaustion. When he asked him what had happened, the samurai told the story as he remembered it. However, he refused to tell where the pieces of the missing plate were, fearing that something terrible would happen to him if he were to pick up the missing pieces and leave them for the spirit to find. The priest was suspicious, but seeing the fear in the samurai's eyes, he agreed to spend the night in his room, while the samurai slept in the guest room. In order to make sure that no uninvited guests were present, the samurai made sure that his servants and friends weren't around to witness the ordeal. Nothing happened in the evening, or even at midnight when they both went to bed. However, while the samurai tried to sleep in the guest room, the priest could not sleep. He was becoming tense and waited until he eventually heard the noise starting the count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Just after the voice had said the last number, the priest shouted, 10! Silence. No screams. Nothing. The priest waited, but he never found anything. Satisfied that the ghost had found peace, he went to see the samurai and knocked on his door, but didn't get a response. Thinking that he was fast asleep, the priest went to bed. The next morning, the priest woke up to a sunrise beaming on his face, and he went to call for the samurai. He didn't find him anywhere in the mansion, so he knocked on the guest room's door. No response. Eventually, he slowly opened the door and saw that he wasn't there. In the middle of the guest room was the missing broken plate. The samurai himself was eventually found drowned in the well. What? Ooh, that's kind of cool. Let me mark this as red. Thank you, Rupi, for submitting that one. Yeah, I had actually never heard of that, but what's so interesting is I feel like it has elements of a lot of different Japanese folklore. You know, it's so wild. It's so common in these stories for people to just try to be forcing people to be with them. Like, what? So weird and awkward. That was cool though. Thank you. Sorry, I had a. What is going on here? All right, y'all. I need to be out of here by 5 or 6, which is in 5 minutes. So we're gonna go ahead and do our collective reading. If I did not get to your story today, there's always next week. And here's my email, storieswithsapphire@gmail.com. Here's a couple tips on how to get my attention. I get a lot of emails. And so things that catch my eye, if you write a very catchy subject line that grabs my attention, because I do get a lot of emails that are like, my story, here's my story, what do you think? And that doesn't tell me anything. Give me like a little sneak peek of what to expect before I open the email. Right? Okay. Ah! Sorry, I just almost spilled my cards everywhere. Okay, so we're gonna do a reading. So I'm gonna draw one card from here. You will either resonate with it or you won't. That's fine. But every single card on here has a really good universal message, which is why I like drawing this. Little Nachos. I am not in Cebu. I am in LA. Pero nag-practice ko sa Cebuano. I'm so bad at it. And shoot, how do I say have? Have ko ang Discord server. Pero para Patreon. Members sa Patreon. So bad. Oh no. Okay. Let's see what we got here. All right. Let's see. I've been seeing fun. 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, you guys ready? Oh, I like it. We got shaman. So I actually learned this recently from Simon Moya Smith, who is going to be a guest on the podcast in, I believe, next week. His episode goes up. Shaman is not a Native American word. They are called medicine person or elder. Shaman is actually, I believe it's Siberian. I have to double check. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, so do not call Native American elders shamans, because you'll be incorrect. Little fact for y'all. Shaman. Like, I don't know if this is Native American, but oopsies, they're incorrect. Okay. Here's a message. Trust in your angels, guides, and ancestors. If you have given your power away, claim it back. Ooh. I have a little story for that. On the inner planes, all of the shamans of times gone by are helping the human race to understand the complexities of life and the needs of Mother Earth. Many are working as spiritual guides to light workers and light warriors. The shaman card brings the energy of your shaman guides to you. Shamans believed that when there was illness or disease, it was because a person's power had been left behind somewhere, or a negative pattern had installed itself in them. In trance, they would travel to the underworld to recall this power and remove the demon. If this card comes to you, it's because you need to do some release work with lower energies or with your lack of trust in the spiritual energies that are guiding you. The shaman will aid you in your quest. There are spiritual allies working in your favor, and their miracles will unfold much more easily when you move into a state of trust. So call back your power and stop allowing external forces to divert you from the miracles you deserve. Hand over all of your concerns to your spiritual allies. When you do so, you allow them to send you intuitive guidance and messages that will allow you to correct the situation and come out on top. The shaman card also shows that you have shamanic potential to move between the realms and connect with your guides in an extremely personal way. Yo, I don't know about you, but I resonated with that. Also, what's kind of cool, so the main message of this card is take back your power if it's been taken from you. So I, unsurprisingly, am obsessed with spiritual talk. Spiritual videos on TikTok. So embarrassing. Some of them I'm kind of like, okay. But a lot of them I'm like, ooh, that's interesting. And there was this one lady who was like, try this simple incantation. And she was like, I'm paraphrasing, but it was something along the lines of like, I call back my power from anything that took it without my permission or consent. And she said, pay attention to what happens over the next couple of days, because people that you may not have spoken to in a while, they might show back up, appear back in your life because you have taken back your power. Now they're trying to get it. And I was like, I don't really understand what this means, but I'll try it. So I tried it. And then the very next day, someone emailed me, someone I hadn't talked to in a while. And immediately, I just felt like so drained. And at the end of the day, I was like, wow, why am I so drained? And then I realized I had done that incantation. And I was like, oh my God, I think this person is someone who has been taking my power away from me. I mean, I knew that. The fact that I'm trying to avoid them because they drained me. Isn't that interesting? So that's your homework, everyone. Call back your power that's been taken away from you. Get it back. It's yours. Take it back. All right, cool. Thank you all so much for joining me. These are always so much fun. I feel like all of my content, my podcast, and my the YouTube videos I make, I like everything I do to be very polished and edited. But this is the one time where I can sort of just get goofy. Like I don't have many opportunities like that, is what I'm saying. And this is fun for me. I hope it's fun for you. All right. Here's a reminder, storieswithsapphire@gmail.com. I'll see you all next week. Same time, 5:30 Pacific. Bye.